see, I was only a prototype for the rest of the E2 class when we were introduced in 1913. I was used a lot and showed that we could be useful and reliable. I, on the other hand, was never to have had a service life that you and the others had. But I was wrong. I was kept with the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway and got to do passenger trains and freight work. Even if I did a little work, I still considered it a big deal and worth doing. You and I never met much and barely spoke, but we would exchange whistle salutes as we passed by. And towards the end of 1913, I was put to the side and retired. But that was short-lived, and I was handed over to Sodor to help with the railway's growth. But I was in terrible shape, and being used so long, my parts were worn, and at the time was difficult to repair. But what was most of all was the way I was treated by the old controller. Throughout 1914, before the outbreak of World War I was treated badly by the people who did not know how to drive those engines properly. But that was because the controller assigned them to do that, to make them look like professional crew members. I never had any accidents while this happened, but I was so angry and embarrassed that I rapidly lost my pride and faith in who I was, and I went into a deep depression. Around early 1914, I was scolded and looked down by the old controller. The fact was that he never really understood how to run a railway and was only into money and greed. He later told me that after I was to take the night passenger train, I was going to be withdrawn and later sold for scrap, mainly due to my parts being so old and overused a lot, and not getting enough repairs done correctly. At this point, I was so upset and enraged, my pain running out of control, and started to plot my revenge against the controller. I didn't know it until I left, but he was on board the coaches along with other passengers. Deep down, I knew what I was going to do, and it would cost me a heavy price. As I neared the station on my journey, my driver applied the brakes. But they failed and I sped up, going faster and faster. I refused to listen to my driver's pleas to stop, and after I got turned onto the wrong track and saw I was heading towards a cliff, I gave in to my hatred and pain and shouted out my last words, cursing and falling to my death, taking every soul with me, including the controller.